Hello.
Hello,
Good
hello.
afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Happy New Year for everyone that we haven't seen yet face to face, or any of you have. Right, well, I see we have steering committee members, a lot of steering committee members. I'm seeing some others too here. Good. How is everyone faring with this weather that we've been having, from the frozen tundra to
It's impressive, actually.
impressive? That's a good
Yeah.
word for it.
I
I've been
drove through
trying
it.
to put my arm. I kind of understand heat. I'm not sure I understand cold. As far as, is it just the lack of heat or something? I don't know what, I'm getting too goofy about it. It's just like the sun's bright and sunny and it's darn cold.
I got to drive through it on Saturday to Fort Wayne for the Midwest Fish and Wildlife Conference.
Oh boy.
That was a blast. Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter got 12 inches in Pittsburgh. So, and we didn't get anything in southern Wisconsin.
No.
I've heard
Oh,
Nordic folks refer to this kind of weather as window weather.
Window weather. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I was in Texas last week, and of course in Dallas Fort Worth area for a conference, and we ended up condensing the conference into just one long day on Thursday to get everybody, and they were clearing out like the shelves on the stores like we were in COVID here. I mean, it was just complete chaos. So
Yeah, weeks like this put things in perspective for us as a species, I feel too.
yes.
So
There's something going on here. All right, let's see here. We're at 2:02. Laura, how we looking? We're looking pretty good here on
Yeah, we are.
on
We are
on
looking pretty
this
good
here.
here.
All
I
right.
can go ahead and share the slides.
Would you do so, please?
I would, yes.
Thank you. All right.
All right.
Laura's got that up and running. Can everybody see the screen okay? And when we do that, we kind of
Yes.
minimize who else, so it makes it a little bit challenging here to just do introductions, but we're going to go ahead and call the Executive Council meeting for January 28th, 2026 to order. And we're going to start out with introductions, and I'll start with myself. Honor and privilege to share and serve as the Alliance Chair. And I also serve as the Executive Director for the McHenry County Conservation District. And Elizabeth Kessler, I didn't mention my name. And I'll pass it on to Victoria next.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victoria Wittig. I am the Illinois-Indiana Conservation Manager for Audubon Great Lakes and am the Vice Chair of Chicago Wilderness Alliance. And I'll send it over to Emily.
Good afternoon, Emily Reiswig, Vice President of Policy and Land Conservation at Open Lands and Treasurer for CWA, and I will pass it to Vince.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Vince Mosca with Hay and Associates and Friends of Hackmatack Board, and I'm the Secretary for the Executive Council, and I will pass it along to Jack.
hey everyone, Jack Brunner with Tetra Tech and Elmhurst University and incoming steering committee member. I will pass it over to Ted.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Ted Hafner, and I am the Green Vision Coordinator for Chicago Wilderness Alliance. I will pass it along to Laura.
Good afternoon. I'm Laura Riley. I'm the Managing Director of Chicago Wilderness Alliance, and I will pass it to Cherie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cherie Fisher. I am a program consultant for the Chicago Wilderness Alliance. I will pass it to Jess Rudnick.
Hi everyone, I'm Jess Rudnick. I'm an extension specialist with the University of Illinois Extension based in Chicago, and I'll pass it over to Sergio.
Hey everyone, Sergio Vargas, Policy Manager of Chicagoland Conservation at the Illinois Environmental Council. And sorry, I was coming from another meeting. I'm not sure who has or hasn't gone yet.
Want to raise your hand if you have not gone, or put your little symbol on that we can acknowledge you.
Michael Dresslick.
Mike Dreslick. I am now the director of the Illinois Natural History Survey, Champaign-Urbana.
Great. Adam.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Adam Bianchi. I'm the General Superintendent of the Forest Preserves of Cook County, and I'll pass it over to Isaiah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm also the President of Cook County, and I'm also on the steering committee. Pass it on to Patrick Thomas.
Good afternoon, everybody. Pat Thomas with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago. In public affairs here. I'll pass it along to my colleague Allison.
I am Allison Poor, also from the Water Reclamation District. Happy to be here. And I will pass this along to Tracy Chapman.
Hello, everyone. Tracy Chapman. I'm the Executive Director for the Forest Preserve District of Will County, and I will pass it on to Adam Osman.
Thank you. My name is Adam Osman. I'm the Deputy Director at the Forest Preserve District of Will County and a new steering committee member. Quick question. Is there a Session Labs link for this, or do I just not have that because I'm a steering committee guy?
There is, and I'm going to share that link with everyone here.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. I can pass it over to Seth.
Hi, everybody. I'm Seth Magley. I'm the Senior Director of the Urban Wildlife Institute at the Lincoln Park Zoo. Whose hand is up? Can I pass to Adam Flickinger?
Oh, and
yeah, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Flickinger. I'm the Planning Director for Friends of the Chicago River.
A few more we have.
How about we send it over to Scott? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Great to meet you all. I'm Scott Culligan. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Global Conservation Solutions. We've been brought in to support on some of the strategic planning work that we're going to kick off, that we have kicked off and is going to be well underway very soon. So got a little bit of time on the agenda to talk about that in a bit more detail. But for now, I'll pass it off to Paul Botts.
hi, everyone. I'm Paul Botts, Executive Director of the Wetlands Initiative here in Chicago. And I think it looks like I'm passing it off to Jeff Mangler.
Thanks, Paul. I'm Jeff Mangler. I'm the president of the Fox River Ecosystem Partnership, and I work for Hay & Associates.
All right. Have we seen anybody else that we did not get to here that entered the room while we were doing introductions? Okay, Nathaniel.
Hey, can you hear me okay? Okay, I'm Nathaniel Pillow with Midwest Biological Survey.
Right, I think we've done our introduction. So if anybody else, make sure on the chat, please enter your name and organization so we have that captured for the minutes. And just so grateful to have all of you with us this afternoon. And we have a wonderful meeting planned with a lot of exciting information to share with you and get feedback and have a conversation. So thank you so much. And Laura, I'll have you start the agenda, start the PowerPoint again.
Okay.
Next slide. All right. Our first order of business here is our agenda today, and Laura's going to put the, or Cherie will place the session lab out in the chat so you can link to it and follow along with what we have. But the first order of business is to approve our agenda for today. So if I could have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve, Jack.
Jack, thank you so much. Do we have a second?
Second, Nathaniel.
Nathaniel, thank you. All right. Any other discussion from anyone else on anything that they would like to see added or modified on the agenda for today?
I'm just curious, Elizabeth, is the Building a Resilient Region through Partnerships, is that meant to be updated for CWA at 30 growing forward together?
I think where that is at, that's Laura's report under manager's report, that's on the agenda. So that's what that is defined as.
Okay, if that's so, then I would move to add an update on Congress to the agenda.
Congress is going to be provided, and I may have missed that. It is on Session Lab. It's under new business.
Yes,
It's already on there.
Oh, I see it now. My apologies. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So this is mapping the Session Lab that we have outlined. All right, so I have a first and a second. Thank you, Victoria, for your questions. Anybody else have any other questions? Otherwise, all those in favor, motion by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, agenda is adopted as approved. All right, next slide, Laura. Just want to go through here where we are, just to highlight. We just finished 2025. We did make it through, and just wanted to highlight several of these things for all of the work, and to say thank you to each of our executive council members, our partners, our sponsors, and all of the work of the steering committee. It was another amazing year, and each year no doubt tops the work that we had done from the prior year, and great to see a lot of engagement. So just to kind of take you back a little bit on a journey of where we were. And when we did our online education back to our Jedi initiatives with our Indian Country 101, we also then had, our native-led summits that were held. We did a traditional ecological knowledge and two-part series as part of that online education that was well received. We did do many gatherings together from, as I said, the native-led climate summits. We had two of them, one at Cook County Forest Preserve District, which was our launch last January, same time last year, this year. And then we also had one at the Pleasant Valley Conservation Area in McHenry County, working with the Tricksters Cultural Center and other Native communities. We did our brush pile burn boss training. We had sustainability lessons from Indigenous practices, numerous online cafes and networking opportunities, and the great work of the GVI teams under Ted Hafner's leadership as our coordinator to have everybody convene and discuss ideas and work towards initiatives aligned with our vision. And then many collaborative partner outreach events. Clearly, the Celebration of Conservation was well attended at the Peggy Notem Art Museum, where we did celebrate Force of Nature, Dr. George Rapp Force of Nature honorees, and our Excellence in Ecological Restoration program, our Midwest Climate Summit, Lake Michigan Collaboration, Growing Chicago Habitat. Right. I mean, there was just so much. And then I would say one of the major initiatives beyond so many that we mentioned was the Climate Action for People and Nature, and reconvening, and really making some great traction on that work. And it was a co-design process. And you're going to hear about that today too, where we're at with that. So again, a great year, a lot to congratulate and to pat yourself on the back. And it's going to lead us into where we're going this upcoming year. Next slide, please. We also want to honor and recognize one of our departing steering committee members who ended her term with us in 2025, and that's Maggie Solis. Maggie, thank you so much for your engagement and participation in helping shape the Alliance as we move forward. So I just want to thank you on behalf of the Alliance and everyone else. Great job, and we appreciate Maggie so much. Next slide. All right. We also have the installation of new officers. Members voted last year to either reappoint steering committee members, and the role for those that are new of the steering committee. The steering committee helps guide setting of the agenda, working through our initiatives and helping to connect our partners. But ultimately, this is where this body, at the Executive Council, makes the final authority and decision-making per our policies and procedures. But I'd like to introduce and share with you individuals that are going to be, and together we'll take an installation oath of office here, but just so everybody knows. So Emily Reiswig from Open Lands has been elected to step into her next 3-year term as treasurer. We have reappointments of Leslie Dorwith from Illinois Indiana Sea Grant, Laura Gudyan from the Field Museum, Ted Hafner, a climate change consultant, and Phil Nicodemus from Urban Waters, serving for 3-year reappointments through 2028. And then we have new team members coming on to the steering committee who are appointed for 1-year terms. And this is just how we rotate, because there's 3-year terms and you rotate. So they're taking either vacated terms or seats that were left unfilled. That's Jack Brunner from Tetra Tech, Jessica Rudnick from University of Illinois Extension, and then Adam Osterman from the Forest Preserve District of Will County. Again, joining others that are already in current seats and they're not up for the reappointment here. So with that, I want to congratulate them, and I'd like to take all of the steering committee members real quickly. And what we're going to do is just I'm going to make a statement here of our induction and installation, and then you'll just be able to respond by I do. So, members of the 2026 steering committee, do you affirm to faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of your position as steering committee members to the best of your knowledge and ability, and pledge to support and advance the mission and green vision of the Chicago Wilderness Alliance?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Wonderful. Congratulations. And I do as well. I just want to thank you for your leadership and commitment to the Alliance, and a lot of the extra efforts that you put forth to keep us moving forward. Thank you. All right, Laura, next slide. I'd also, for those that don't know, before we get into the old business, is Cherie Fisher. I believe for those that were with us knew that we brought Cherie back on to assist us in our program coordinator role here, and is going to be very critical, has already done amazing to help give support to Laura, who is our only full-time employee that we have here at the Alliance, with all the support of our independent contractors, but Cherie to help out with our Congress. So welcome, Cherie. We're so glad to have you with us. All right, moving on to old business, and we'll take these. The first one is going to be the approval of our Executive Council minutes, and I'm going to turn this over to you, Vince, as our secretary. Is Vince still with us?
Sorry, I muted myself. Does anyone have any questions or additions or corrections for the October 22nd, 2025 Executive Council meeting minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Jack.
Jack, second, please.
Second, Victoria.
Victoria, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carried.
Thank you, Vince. All right, next, Emily Reiswig, our treasurer, for treasurer's report.
Yeah, just at a high level, we continued to manage our financial wherewithal very, very well. We ended Q4 with just a little over $500,000 in total assets. Most of the expenses in Q4 were related to the Force of Nature awards and some of our programmatic expenditures, which we'll be talking about as the meeting continues. And overall, just continue to be very impressed with how CWA is managing its financial health. I will take any questions. And hearing none, I would ask for someone to motion approval of the Q4 reports.
I make a motion to approve the Q4 reports. This is Nathaniel.
Do I have a second?
It's Jack. I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you, Emily, for your work on this. Oh, here it is. Here's just a quick snapshot here of where we ended, as you stated. All right, thanks, Laura. Next slide. All right, want to acknowledge and recognize we have several new partners that are joining us as part of the Alliance, the Chicago Muslims Green Team, the Eubanks Environmental, Kind Heart Consulting Group, and Together for Taft. And information about each of these organizations is on Session Labs, so you can link through and learn more about them. And definitely, we want to welcome them with a warm Chicago Wilderness Alliance welcome and encourage them to engage with us. And please, as fellow partners, do reach out and make them feel part of the team. All right, moving on to new business. Laura, I'll give this one to you.
All right. Every 2 years cycle, we have to renew our Friends of the Forest Preserve fiscal sponsorship agreement. We have updated and created a contract for that that is shared on Session Lab. It would begin on April 1st of 2026 through March 31st of 2028. And we have been really pleased with the way that our relationship has worked and have really relied on the support of Jillian DiCarlo and Benjamin Cox as we have navigated the last cycle. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve a renewal of a 2-year fiscal sponsorship agreement with the Friends of the Forest Preserve for the term of April 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2028 as presented.
So moved. This is Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Second, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, any discussion? So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Thank you, Laura, and thank you for those, Paul and Adam. Any discussion on the agreement? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, motion by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right, it is approved unanimously. Thank you. All right, Cherie, get us excited and ready to go for Congress.
All right. Are we going to jump into the Congress update here, Laura?
Yes, we are.
Okay, then let's do it. So as many of you probably know, the Congress will be held Friday, November 6th at College of Lake County in Grays Lake. The campus itself has some really great sustainability features and some things, a number of things that are going to really support having Congress there, including a lot of spaces we can meet in, big and small, connecting hallways in case it's very cold, and they are co-sponsoring Congress, the colleges. Also, traditionally, the day before Congress, there are field trips, and those are being planned for Thursday, November 5th. So please hold both of those dates in your calendars. Next slide, please. Okay, so planning for the Congress has started. We've had 2 main planning committee meetings. A special meeting to discuss the theme for Congress, a special meeting to discuss the keynote, plenary, and presentation tracks. And if you missed any of those meetings and want to review the discussions, you can reach out to me to see the notes. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little more about the planning committees and subcommittees. The main planning committee is made up of mostly steering committee members, as since many of you are here, you know that. The next meeting of the main planning committee will be Monday, February 9th at 11. That group meets once a month on the second Monday at 11 a.m. Although we may need to go to more frequent meetings soon, we'll see. If you have not yet joined that main planning committee and are interested, you are welcome to. These are not closed committees in any shape or form. We need all kinds of expertise and a range of different skills to help pull off Congress. Another team that is kicking off this coming Monday is the field trip planning team. Field trips, as you can imagine, involve a lot of logistics, coordination with multiple partners, often multiple sites. Sometimes there's one field trip, sometimes there are several, and they all need attention and work. So if you're interested in joining that team, again, you're welcome to. The next committee to get started will be the program committee. probably in mid-February. The program committee puts out the call for presentation proposals to the larger community and then sorts through them once they come in and decides which presentations will become part of the program at Congress. That team works very intensively at the time that the proposals are due. I would say late May, early June, although the timeline has not yet been decided. There's not a whole lot of work to do before that, and there's not a whole lot of work to do after that, but there's a lot of work to do when the proposals come in and big decisions to make. You can sign up for any of these planning committee meetings in the events section of the Alliance website, or you can reach out to me to be added to the mailing list for any team. Okay, Keynote is an important feature of Congress, and I'm not going to go through this whole slide. I just wanted to put it up to show you that in the past, the keynote speakers have been local rock stars like Arthur Pearson and Deborah Shore. They have been national level figures like Dr. Carolyn Finney, and there have been years when there was no keynote and something in its place like a panel or a set of the 2016 Congress was the 20th anniversary of the Alliance, and there were several events throughout the day that were sprinkled in to celebrate the anniversary. Next slide, please. So, to all of you, we have had one meeting that was for brainstorming keynote speaker ideas. That decision has not been made, and it needs to be made soon because especially if we want a prominent, well, either regionally prominent or nationally prominent speaker, we have to get it on their calendar soon and nail down their availability. So do you have suggestions for who the keynote speaker should be? We're going to open it up. If you have suggestions now, you can throw them out and we'll put them on the list. And if not, you can reach out to me or Laura later to add to the list.
You know, I wonder if it, and we talked about the theme of Congress, and I don't know if that's helpful for folks to think about it being the 30th anniversary. Also that we wanted to focus on growing forward together. So looking a little bit at where we've been, but also what's the future hold. And I think that our strategic planning that we hold throughout the year will be really helpful for that. If that helps inspire any thoughts.
Okay, if there are
And
no
Well, we-
suggestions, oh,
Well,
go ahead.
I would just chime in quickly to say, for those who weren't able to participate in that special meeting where we opened up this conversation, a few of the names that have been put on the table so far include Robin Wall Kimmerer, Doug Tallamy, Stephen Packard, and the sous chef, and Cherie or Laura. Remind me if I'm missing any. But we're very interested in hearing from executive council members of any speakers that they have experience with that could be a really wonderful keynote for our 30th anniversary. So if you don't have an idea today, you can, of course, get in touch with us in a variety of ways. But, you know, think about conferences you've been to recently or books that you've read that have really inspired you, that are relevant to the work we do in the Alliance. And yeah, share some thoughts and ideas, please.
If there are no suggestions right now, that's fine. We're kind of springing this on you. Again, there's time later to put names in the hat. Laura, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay,
Sure,
and then
I had a question on that one too. So as we're thinking, obviously there's going to be a budget related to the Congress, but is there a set or is that still open? So maybe someone's thinking of someone that, oh, they may come with a price tag, but again, I think through sponsorship or that we're open, right? It's not that they're just doing it with just an honorarium. Are we flexible?
Right. Yeah, so we had identified 2,000 in the budget, but of course we do sponsorship and fundraising for the event. So when we do this exploration and we reach out to the list that we've generated so far or any other names that come forward, I would certainly come back if there was someone who was over the recommended, the allotted amount for speaker fees.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, on now to the proposed theme for Congress, which has been mentioned a couple of times already. There was a team that met in December to brainstorm ideas and come up with some suggested wording. That wording went to the steering committee at the December meeting, and the steering committee put forth CWA at 30 Growing Forward Together, which has since been approved by the main planning team for Congress. However, in alignment with the Alliance's branding, instead of saying CWA, since acronyms are confusing to people and because we want to be known as the Alliance, the revised wording that we're putting forward now is the Alliance at 30 Growing Forward Together. So any thoughts or discussion on that? Yeah, Victoria.
Yes, thank you for raising this. I wasn't aware that there was a switch towards referring to us as the Alliance. And for me, that could be a little bit confusing as I've worked with Alliance for the Great Lakes quite a bit over the years, and I refer to them as the Alliance. So I'm just curious if anyone else has that sense of confusion or any recommendations on a short name for the Chicago Wilderness Alliance.
Well, I would share that, Victoria, in the particular instance of the Alliance for the Great Lakes, but there's also other alliances, not even in the world of green work, that, you know, if we just say the Alliance, it feels like we're sort of, in many contexts, not ourselves maybe, but many other contexts, we sort of be endlessly having to explain which alliance we're referring to. So I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, so thank you both for those ideas. I will say that the theme is never going to be presented in printed materials in isolation. So you're never going to see CWA at 30 Growing Forward Together by itself on a page somewhere or a poster or a website. It will say the Chicago Wilderness Alliance 30th Anniversary Congress, the Alliance at 30 Growing Forward Together.
Yeah, I was trying to see, so a little bit how we have, this is the current landing page, which I think is linked in Session Lab. It's just to hold the date, save the date currently, but it would be something like this, or the Chicago Wilderness Alliance Congress 2026, the Alliance at 30 Growing Forward Together, just to support what Sheree just said.
Yeah, and I think the key part is when we did our work with PCI about our branding and rebranding was to spell out, because it's all just alphabet soup to everyone. And so, and Victoria, you bring up a good point. So instead of calling us CWA, we should be using the full Chicago Wilderness Alliance. That's who we are. But when we're speaking towards of the group, we are the Alliance. And that's the intentional essence, just to remove CWA and refer to either Chicago Wilderness Alliance or the Alliance. And again, it's not in, you're showing the branding of the full intention with the logo and the messaging.
Thank you for that reminder, Elizabeth. That aligns now with what I remember and makes a lot of sense. I also appreciate Sheree's explanation that the Alliance will never stand alone, that, you know, Chicago Wilderness Alliance's logo or verbiage will be present if that is how we're shortening our name. So thank you.
Thanks, Victoria. And I neglected to say, my apologies, Growing Forward Together, that wording has specific meaning. Growing is to put emphasis on the idea that the Alliance is ever resilient and adaptive. Forward means that it's a forward-looking organization, very future-focused, and not just resting on its laurels and celebrating everything accomplished in the first 30 years. And together reflects the collaborative nature of everything that the Alliance does. So there were a lot of concepts that were distilled down into these simple-seeming words. Okay, I think we can move onward.
Thank you, Cherie. Thank you for that. So still time and opportunity to get involved in one way or the other. This is one of our big lists for the upcoming year is to have an amazing, and each year they get better and better. So we're going to have an amazing 30th anniversary Congress in November. And then the next big thing that's going to lead us up to this, which we're really excited, Laura, next slide, is our strategic planning process. And as you recall, when we met at the Peggy Notabart Museum, we were talking and we got authorization from the Executive Council to go out with proposals. We did that work. The steering committee interviewed and selected and got an amazing amount of responses back. Unbelievable. And then we had the difficult task of reviewing them all and then making selections. And from those selections and scoring them, we went to doing interviews. And I'm happy to share with us that today we're going to have a presentation by the firm that we've selected. And we are amazingly excited to have them joining us and to lift our efforts to the work that we're going to be doing over the next several years, and that is Global Conservation Solutions. But before we have a presentation from them on the work, and we've already executed, but we want to just affirm the contract that was approved by the steering committee. So I would just look to affirm the contract by someone from the Executive Council. To ratify, I guess, is the word, is the better use of term.
This is Jack. I'll motion to ratify the contract.
Wonderful, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
This is Jessica. I'll second.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, any further discussion on the agreement? Okay, all those in favor, motion by saying aye.
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 Right.
Okay, any opposed? Wonderful. All right, that's just the formality that we've got here. So I'd like to welcome Scott with us from Global Conservation Solutions, Scott Culligan. And I don't know if Josh Noseworthy is going to be joining you as well, but thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Josh sends his apologies. He does quite a bit of work with the Conservation Standards Collective, and they have a meeting at the moment as well. So I'm afraid we've had to kind of split, and you're left with me for today. But hopefully I can do justice to the presentation I've got. So thank you for the context. That's super helpful. Yes. So we're really we've been brought on to help facilitate and guide the Alliance, or CWA, or Chicago Wilderness Alliance, through a strategic planning process, which is will be launched and presented at the Alliance's 30th anniversary Congress. What I'm going to talk about today, I'll do a little bit of an introduction just to myself, and I'll talk a little bit about Josh as well, although unfortunately he can't make this meeting. And then I'll just explain a little bit about the process that we're going to go through, and I'll talk because often I've found when speaking to executive councils or supervisory boards of these types of alliances, there's always a lot of questions around governance and decision making and how decisions will actually get made. So I'm just going to talk through that bit of the process so people are clear on how we plan to run and make decisions in an inclusive way for the Alliance. So if you can just drop down the next slide, please. Kind of introduction to myself. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer. I actually am based in London in the UK. I've been here about 16 years now. I came over to do my PhD at the University of Oxford, and I was an academic there for a few years before I moved into the world of strategy consulting. So my background, I've spent well over a decade doing strategic planning for lots of different organizations across the world. Josh is fully nomadic. He's in Colombia at the moment, but he does a lot of nature expeditions, and he can often be found in the deep jungle or in cities, depending on the kind of day. But he moves around quite a bit. His background, he was the director of science in Canada for the Nature Conservancy before starting Global Conservation Solutions. He did his master's at the University of Cambridge in the UK as well, in conservation leadership. Just if you could drop down to the next slide, I'll just really quickly touch on who we are. So our bread and butter is strategic planning for conservation organizations. We do a lot of what we call adaptive conservation planning as well. So we work with a lot of governments and NGOs who have a specific mandate or focus on a species or an ecosystem. We help create those conservation plans. So we work a lot with conservation standards. As I said, Josh is one of 50 people who are licensed to train the trainers in conservation standards across the world. But crucially, we do a lot of strategic planning for organizations that have a nature, biodiversity, or conservation focus. So we've worked with very large organizations like WWF, BirdLife. We've done strategic planning for the likes of the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund. But crucially, we've worked with a lot of complex regional partnerships. So I mean, I could name lots of those as well. The Nashwauk Watershed Association up in Canada. We're doing a lot of work in the Dutch Caribbean with the Dutch Caribbean Nature Alliance in a similar way. So this is what we do. It's what we love. We're really excited to be part of this because we love the work that CWA is doing. We bring an approach that we think, and I'm going to talk through the approach, so I won't dwell too much on the second and third bullet points here, but our approach is inclusive. As the kind of takeaway on this slide says, our role is not to prescribe solutions here. It's to facilitate clarity, alignment, and momentum for Chicago Wilderness Alliance and its members. So we focus on making sure that there's buy-in, but driving that process along, not getting paralyzed by decision paralysis along the way. We've got a clear, efficient methodology that is tried and tested. We've used with lots of different organizations across the world. We call it the Rapid Strategic Planning Framework. I'll talk about what that means. And the kind of the fourth point on here talks to kind of us. This is what we love. Ultimate CWA are our client in this instance, but we think of nature as our ultimate clients in all of these scenarios. So we ultimately want to drive impact for the conservation community, for the end systems that we are all trying to conserve. And we're a certified 1% for the planet. We're signatories to the Business for Nature. We're Rainforest Trust Conservation Circle members. We're People and Planet certified. We have lots of accreditations to try and show that we live and breathe this. We're not just kind of consultants brought in. This is the world that we operate in and that we are really passionate about. And the last point talks to all of this is we don't want to just create a document that sits on a shelf or some pretty looking slides. This is about impact. So throughout the process, our focus is on setting smart goals, ensuring the right accountability, and ensuring we've got all the monitoring systems set up to make sure that we kind of remain adaptive and achieve meaningful outcomes for the region, which is meaningful outcomes for nature, who is our ultimate client. That's kind of a whirlwind tour of Global Conservation Solutions. I'm talking a lot. If anybody wants to say anything at any point, please raise your hand or just jump in and start speaking. Otherwise, I'm gonna move on to the process that we're going to go through. We use what's called the Rapid Strategic Planning Framework based on 12-step process. So the first few are all about making sure members are aligned on why we're doing this, agreeing who's going to be involved when, making sure we're aligned on the vision, and we're building on lots of work that's been done here. So we're not starting from a kind of fresh sheet of paper here. There's a lot of good work that's been done. And we want to build on that, make sure we have a defined purpose, niche, and the values are really clear of the organization. We then move into the bread and butter of this work, which is setting our strategic priorities, our longer range goals, making sure that we know who's accountable for which bits, and then setting out kind of what do I call a midterm plan, a short-term plan, and a really short-term plan to make sure everybody's clear about what happens next, and so we can hit the ground running on the different initiatives that we choose, mapping out barriers and constraints, and making sure we've got a clear monitoring plan so that it doesn't expire in 6 months after we've written it, but making sure that we've got a clear plan to kind of revisit this and change as circumstances change and we understand whether or not we're hitting our goals. Any questions or comments? Otherwise, all will just keep pressing on. The way that that's going to unfold is in a kind of three-phase approach. So we kicked this off in early January, working to just collect as much information as we can about Chicago Wilderness Alliance. So we're trying to understand, who the members are, what work's been done to date, thinking about the strategy, what initiatives are going on, so that we've got a clear picture of our starting point. Not that by any means what we've done in the past dictates what we're going to do in the future, but we need to understand, GCS need to understand the context in which we're working before we start kind of setting some of the foundations. So that work's undergoing. We get into the bulk of the work after what we said 3 months. Actually, we're going to kick off a little bit sooner. So we've already scheduled our first, we're calling vision and values workshops, sort of that top line of the rapid strategic planning process. We're going to run a workshop to just ensure alignment on all of that. And then we will run a series of workshops with members, potentially kind of partners or other advisors, GBI teams will get invited to that to really work out what are the strategies that we're going to adopt. How do we identify, how do we prioritize those different strategies to make sure that we're achieving our goals and our mission, and start to kind of think about how we plan for action across some of those. So by the end of that second phase, we should have a kind of the structure of our strategic plan. We know what our vision, what our values are, and we know roughly what types of strategies we want to adopt. Then we get into a phase of kind of validating that, iterating it, and planning kind of some of those nearer and midterm kind of implementation plans, so that we know what's going to happen and we know who's accountable for what in the near term, and set up all the monitoring that goes around that, which brings us to launch at the end. So that kind of in the nutshell is the process. I was going to talk a little bit now about governance, and unless anybody has any sort of questions or comments on the process, I recognize I'm talking quite quickly and going through lots of information. Some of this people may have seen if they were involved in the RFP process, because this is taken directly from our proposal. But if this is new to anyone, or I've spoken too quickly, or not said anything in as clearly as I could, please chime in. Okay, we shall carry on. This story just summarizes each of the different phases that we talked about, roughly the timescales that we're talking about, and what CWA will get at the end of those. So as again, at the end of phase one, it's really, we're just understanding the lay of the land. We'll probably draft some sort of inception memo to anchor our understanding, and probably talk about some of the outcomes of that vision and value workshop. But really, the meat and bones of the strategic plan come in that second phase, where we're talking about what is the strategy, and what initiatives are we going to pursue, and crucially, what are we not going to pursue, because we won't be able to do everything. And then we get into a final period, as I said, of validation. So that's the process in a nutshell. And sorry, the next slide then starts to talk about governance. So there are kind of different layers to this. We have an initial team. We've been working with Elizabeth and Laura just to kind of get set up, coordinated, get GCS as much data as we can, get us an understanding of who sits where on the executive council versus the steering committee, getting our organizational understanding of CWA as an organization up to scratch, so that we go into work with the core team, which in the case of Chicago Wilderness Alliance are going to be the decision makers. So that's where all of the direction, the decisions, the endorsement will come from. And we're going to work in a series of workshops with the steering committee to make some of those decisions, and we'll provide the relevant materials and the key decision points along the way to guide them. I think the executive council will serve as an approval and sign off point. So we'll take kind of recommendations from the steering committee for the strategy. And then there are various partners and GVI teams that will at certain points act as advisors, participants. They will co-design potentially certain initiatives. It's a little bit early to say exactly how they will be involved until we know what we're doing, but it's likely that they'll be involved at some point to advise. But the steering committee, in all intents and purposes, will be the decision-making forum for the decisions that get made in the strategic plan. And how we will make those decisions. So that moves us on to the next slide. We look to build consensus. Obviously, in a group this size, perfect consensus may never exist. But we want to be able to take decisions every time we hold a workshop to ensure that we're driving this process forward as efficiently as we can. We'll test consensus through a defined voting mechanism that we're going to I'll talk through on the next slide at each key decision point. So there's a set of rules that specify how a group will reach closure. We'll define a quorum. So all steering committee members are eligible to contribute to decision making. We think kind of at least 75% of voting members should be present at any given time to make the decisions. And if we don't have quorum, we need to find another time to hold the meeting. So we'll make sure that there's appropriate representation, and we will test kind of sentiment for the decisions that we are taking using the mechanism that I'm going to show on the following slide, which is basically a 5-scale gradient. If you can just drop down, please. So we will make a series of statements in these things. It might be a vision or a redrafted vision, and we'll say, are we happy with this vision? And we'll ask members to vote, and people can either support, they can support with a minor point of contention, they can abstain, they can stand aside, which basically says, I don't want to hold up the group with this decision any longer, but actually I think, I have some level of discomfort with this, or they can disagree entirely. And if anybody disagrees, we continue to discuss that decision. But if somebody's disagreeing, they have to bring forward an alternative proposal with them. What we don't want to get into is just nobody being happy and nobody but unable to take any decisions. So if people are disagreeing, they must bring an alternative. If 100% of members are in sort of categories 1 through 4, the decision will move forward as proposed, but we have a sense of level of consensus around it. So we'll be able to audit this at the end and say, actually everyone loved the vision, but value number 3, it's a bit more divided whether or not that's the right thing. But there was enough of a consensus to say, let's move ahead with that as a group. This might all be a little bit technical. Often when I've spoken to kind of boards and councils, that they're keen to understand how governance and how decision making for the process is going to work, which is why I share this today. The steering committee haven't seen this yet. We have our first workshop to kick off how that process is going to work, and to discuss vision and values scheduled for February 23rd. So if you just drop down to the next slide. I think that's largely what this slide says. That's our kind of kickoff with the steering committee, our core team. It's going to be focused on that first row of this rapid strategic planning framework. So what is CWA's vision, its purpose, its niche, and its core values? Again, building on what's been there before, but an opportunity to revisit that and ensure that it's all fit for purpose. We'll make sure everyone's aligned on kind of the need for this strategic plan and why we're doing it as well as part of that session. But that gives us a really good grounding to then move into the detailed strategic discussions, which we will schedule off the back of that. I think there's probably an opportunity to provide an update to the Executive Council at various points as well. It's probably a little bit premature until we've got those further sessions scheduled with the steering group. Sorry, it's first meeting. I've seen someone sent a text. It is the 13th. It's not the 23rd. That is a typo on this slide. So apologies for that. It's scheduled for the 13th, not the 23rd. Apologies. But yes, it's kicking off on February 13th. Following that, we will schedule a series of workshops. At that point, we'll probably be able to say when we can provide a meaningful update back to the Executive Council. I mean, we can update as regularly or as irregularly as is sensible. I would suggest it probably makes sense to move through a couple of workshops at least before we come back to say how we're getting on. But you know, the opportunity is always there to provide further updates to the Executive Council if they're keen to understand how the process is going. That is largely everything I had to discuss. I have been talking a lot, so I'm going to pause there. Any questions other than my typo of the 23rd rather than the 13th? Thank you to whoever pointed that out. Well spotted. Elizabeth. Sorry, you are on mute.
I'm on mute. Thank you. Need to take that off here. Thank you so much for that good overview of where you're going to be taking us over these next several months. And I do want to hear from any of our executive council members here, because you're going to be part of this process too. And there will be opportunities as well. We've also provided Global Solutions the many data points already of documents that we've had other consultants that have come in and helped us over these last several years. But I think really what we're focused on is how do we go forward? What does the future look like? And that's where we really want to have engagement by the council here, and to help us and just reach out and give ideas to steering committee members, and we'll help shape and identify where there's going to be those plug-in points for you as well.
And on the final slide here, I put my contact details as well as Josh's. Please, if you have any questions or ideas or thoughts or input to the process at any point, please don't be shy to reach out. We're both friendly Canadians, so we would love to hear from you if you have any input at any stage of the process. Do not hesitate to get in touch. But yeah, thank you for that, Elizabeth.
We are really excited to start this process. I'm looking forward to this year.
So are we.
Anyone else that's, necessarily hasn't been involved with the steering committee on this, and any takeaways for us at this point?
I just want to chime in and say that I hope the Executive Council can see why we chose Global Conservation Solutions. As a very logical thinker myself, I've just been impressed with the organization, structure, and direction this is going to take. And I really don't have a lot of question marks in my mind about what comes next, because it's been laid out so clearly by the Global Conservation Solutions team. So I hope that the Executive Council will engage when those connection points are available, and very excited to get this process underway.
Thank you, Victoria. Anyone else? I don't know if there's any other hands or thoughts. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us and spending time today. All the best. And we'll see you on the 13th.
See you then, 13th, not the 23rd.
Correct.
Thank you.
Let's see here. So I'm going to turn it over now to Ted for the Green Vision Initiatives and Climate.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Elizabeth. My name is Ted Hafner. I'm the Green Vision Coordinator. This should look familiar to anybody who attended the last meeting. You get the good fortune or poor fortune of hearing from me on two successive updates, but both efforts move items forward with the least amount of effort possible, which is one of my passions. This one pertains to the Green Vision initiatives, and this is our stoplight that I have created, and it will look a little bit different than the last time you saw it based on feedback from the last meeting, and I will walk you through that. As you can see, we have a series of stoplights. Green indicates good health. Yellow indicates some caution areas, and red indicates some areas that really need attention. Given that we are a network and we go where the energy goes, we are bound to have some yellows and reds at some point in the process. So walking through this, the top line is leadership. We have 2 leaders present for 3 of the goal teams, as indicated in green. So that's growing with agriculture, the green infrastructure team, and then the protecting healthy water team. The remainder of the teams, with the exception of increasing equitable access, which is red, have 1 leader present, which is okay, but not ideal. And then just as a reminder, the circles that are around each dot indicate where they were either last month or last quarter, depending on who you are and when you get this presentation. So being a new year, we took stock, I took stock. We have the increasing equitable access team is really sort of defunct as a team, if you will, but the work moves forward, as you heard earlier, through our various native-led climate summits, our DEI workshops, and all of that. So even though that team is not active, the work moves forward. The second line indicates energy. Most of the teams do have good energy and good ideas. The agriculture has been upgraded, while the increasing equitable access has been downgraded. Every other color is green on this, so we're in good shape there. Meetings is the third icon down, and the bar there is quarterly meeting. So it's a fairly low threshold. That's why Managing Healthy Landscapes has been upgraded. They missed a couple meetings last year because they lost a co-lead, as you see up at the top, and they only have 1. So there's a little bit of a capacity issue there. As I mentioned before, increasing equitable access, group 5 under the purple banner, hasn't met in quite a while. We're looking for 2 leaders there, but there's, despite the movement forward programmatically, the team has been really, we have been struggling to create the team and momentum there. The last item on this list is the CWA Hub, which is our GIS mapping. They also missed a couple meetings last year due to fieldwork and capacity, but they have been on track this year to meet quarterly, and we have met already this year. The fourth icon down is funding and funding availability. These are mostly yellows because while we have good ideas, it has been hard for us to find funding either through grants or through elevating these ideas into grant writing purposes. The downgrade here has been in the climate group. We have received over the past couple of years 2 anonymous gifts, and I don't believe we have received that gift in this year. So I downgraded that from a green to a yellow. The last bullet point is metrics. This is based on feedback. This was added since you last attended this meeting, based on your input. So what this means is each of the teams either has metrics or doesn't. If it doesn't, it's a red. If it does, it's a yellow. And then if it has metrics and is able to track those metrics successfully, it has a green. The big news here is with group 4, which is our protecting health landscapes for biodiversity conservation. Their metrics just came out for 2025, and the good news there is we are well ahead of schedule. We're supposed to protect something akin to 2,000 acres per year through 2030, and for the remainder of those 3 or 4 years until 2030, depending on how you look at it, we have to protect something like 954 acres per year to meet that goal. So we're really excited about that. The other groups that are in yellow, it doesn't mean we don't have the metrics, but again, There are a number of reasons that these are yellow. Some are capacity to actually monitor and track the metrics. Some are partner input. We have mechanisms through our hub to have partners input those metrics, but those opportunities are not being taken advantage of. So there's some socialization there. And that's what's going on there. And we still have need for metrics in group 5, which is our increasing equitable access to nature. Protecting healthy water does not have metrics, mostly because we have different metrics in the region. But we have to decide on which of those metrics to use, and we have not done so yet. And by virtue of the fact that the CWA Hub was added as an official goal team last year, they don't have goals or metrics yet, but we're working to create some of those as we speak. Finally, down at the bottom, you can see the stoplight amalgamations. So in 2025, in the quarter 4, we had 18 greens. We still have 18 greens in quarter 1. That's great. We have increased the yellows from 14 to 16. And before I added and amended the increasing equitable access and took stock of 2025, we had 0 reds at the end of last year, but we have added some categories here. So we now have 6 reds on our stoplight board. Quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4 remain empty because they have yet to be realized in terms of a temporal scale, but those will be filled in as we move forward throughout the remainder of the year. Are there any questions on this stoplight for me at this time? Feedback? Opinions? Questions?
Thank you, Ted.
All right, hearing none, I think we can go to the next slide. So this is the second effort that we look to move multiple goals forward with the least amount of effort. And this is the update for the Climate Action for People and Nature, or CAP-N. This has been a long-running project, as many of you will know. And I'm here to provide an update for this since lots of work has been done since we last met. Next slide, please, Laura. Okay, when we last met, we were in the scanning and practical vision aspects of the project, as indicated by the blue star. We have progressed now through to strategies and implementation, where we're at today. Unfortunately, we were hoping to be wrapped up by quarter 1 or close to wrapping up. We are still, but we were thrown a couple curveballs, and we are addressing those curveballs, as I will indicate and explain through the remainder of the presentation to you. Any questions of where we were and where we are today? Comments, observations? Next slide, please, Laura. Since we last met, we had an in-person workshop at CMAP at the old post office, and we came up with the 5 buckets or work areas, if you will, in yellow: creating greater power through authentic collaboration, centering community traditional ecological knowledge and decision-making for the greater good, integrating climate and nature into all policies, scaling ecological best practices with an environmental justice framework, and co-producing and stewarding knowledge to support civic action. Underneath those, in white, we came up with qualifiers or topic areas that we thought fit those categories fairly well. And that was the work basically of that day-long charrette at the old post office. It was a big sort of breakthrough. We've had multiple breakthroughs, but this was one of them over the last quarter. I'm not going to go into all the sticky notes in white, if you will, but some that stand out to me are things like CAPN Project 2036, that was a suggestion that came out of looking around at our environment and recognizing the, for better or for worse, the strength of Project 2025 in our and its role in our current federal government. Why can't we have one of those for nature? Other items were protecting rare habitats, interdisciplinary, interorganizational teams are deployed, and things like that. Next slide, please, Laura. From there, these 5 different buckets have the different colors, red, purple, orange, blue, and green. We did a co-design exercise where we defined the current reality. Then we jumped to the right-hand column on each sheet to define the success indicators. And then the middle column indicates first-year accomplishments, which we hope to be seen and realized moving forward. These are intentionally unreadable. I really just wanted you to see the work and the digestion of the information, because we will release these in our report. And really, if I delve deep into each one of us, we'd be here until next quarter, which I didn't think was fair to anybody. Next slide, please, Laura. Okay, so in those middle columns, the first year success, we have come up with this neat little graph or table, if you will, where we really wanted everybody to be seen in this plan, no matter where you find yourself. So the columns at the top are we as an alliance, what we can do, what our member and organizations can do, what municipalities and government agencies can do, what non-partner but local organizations can do, and then what anybody can do reading this plan or as a normal citizen of the region can do. We pulled out 2 of the white sticky notes, and those are indicated in the rows under the blank column to the left, if you will. And I'll just, it's not important, but I'm going to just be quiet for a moment just so that you can sort of digest this. This isn't final, but we thought that having a place where everybody can be seen and recognized where they fit into this plan was traditionally really important. So I will be quiet for a moment with this slide while you sort of digest what's going on. And then we'll flip to the next slide, because that's where we have to go back to the co-design team for their input. But we thought that this served, these 2 examples of where we want to be in the next year or 2 served as a good sort of model for the co-design team to understand what we're trying to accomplish with this table framework, if you will.
Ted, is there anything else to say? If anybody have any questions, or did we lose Ted?
No, I'm here. I've just
Okay.
intentionally been quiet so folks can read and digest.
Okay, great.
I was going to give it another 30 seconds or so and then move on to the next slide.
Good.
All right, next slide, Laura, please. Oh, and that's it. I thought I had one more slide as to where we were going next, but what we hope to do is return to the co-design team with the remainder of the accomplishments so that they could give their input as to where and who could do what over the next year. Any questions or comments on this? Hearing none, that's my update, and I just want to close by saying I know we're a little behind schedule on this project, but we did in the last week solve this thorny problem of how to present this and how to reflect the region individually, organizationally, and we're really excited about it. So thank you for your time today and allowing me to give this update.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you for helping, and all of the organizations that participated with the climate action for people and nature. And again, a lot of good feedback. So looking forward that we can share that out with everybody so they can read the information, and look forward to putting that all together.
All right. Thank you. I'll take it from there. The first quarter of the year is always a transition as we close out 2025 and move into 2026. So as you may have heard from me, our partner renewals are still underway, and I want to thank everyone who has already submitted those, knowing that some organizations need to close out their books in 2025, and then we move forward to 2026. So we keep this open until March 31st, and you may be hearing from me in the next several weeks or one of our steering committee partners to see if you have any questions or need any assistance with that. We are also really excited that we are in the process of beginning our website update. We've been working on this for a while with your membership, and we have a meeting next week to go through 2 mock designs that they have given us, and we'll be moving forward with that after we make some decisions with our designer. So stay tuned. That's going to be some exciting things for us to look forward to, in addition to our strategic planning process. And I hope that if you have any thoughts after today's presentation or meeting, that you don't hesitate to reach out to me with any of your thoughts or ideas, and likewise with Congress as we begin that planning in earnest. The 2 other things that I wanted to mention is that we are in the process of kicking off the City Nature Challenge. This year, it will be April 24th through the 27th. All of our partner organizations are encouraged to think of hosting a City Nature Challenge event in their area. This is all done through iNaturalist, and it's a really great way to put the biodiversity of our region on the map. And we actually have made really great strides over the last several years of increasing the number of identifications. We host an identification party afterwards. And so there's more information about how to get involved on our website. And it really is just as simple as adding your organization's event to a form, and it gets put onto the site and to the map. The other thing that's happening, that we are working with the Green Teacher Network to help advance their call for proposals for sharing resources for the teachers of the Chicago region. And the theme this year is guided by nature, reconnect, restore, and revolutionize. Advancing nature-centered teaching for sustainable future. And many of your organizations, I know the Forest Preserves of Cook County, Open Lands, and others have been really involved in this organization. And so we're just helping to get the word about the workshop proposals, the call for proposals, and give them a landing page to help promote and register for the event. So there's more information both linked in Session Lab, but on our website as well. And gosh, with that, I think always want to do a plug for our storefront. It always has great gear. I want to remind folks that it's never a bad time to buy Chicago Wilderness Alliance merchandise. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Elizabeth for our announcements and and he'd like to hear from you, any announcements from the region.
Laura, thank you and the team again. And a lot of great strides here today. Any announcements or things for the good of the group, or you've got things going on, or you want to tap into the talent that we have around the table here today, relative to our mission, vision, and the work that we're doing in conservation?
Victoria?
Thank you. Great presentations. Really appreciated the update on the CAPN project. I wanted to share a couple of updates from the Audubon Great Lakes side. Please note that we are moving our office to Impact House. That official change starts February 1st. So we're asking everyone to please update their contact information for our office moving forward. That address is in all of our email signatures, and I will also populate that in the chat. But I was also excited to see that at the national level, our annual report just came out with some features from the Audubon Great Lakes regional team. So dropping a link in the chat for you all to connect with what's happening at Audubon.
Thanks, Victoria. Others? I know there has to be other announcements or things that are happening. It's been a busy start of 2026.
I guess
Anyone?
I'll just add that if you have any staff or yourself would like to take plant workshops, I'm putting those together. So keep an eye open on any social media or the website to see when those are. Or if you'd like to host a workshop for your team, let me know, I guess.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well, for the McHenry County, I'll just say one announcement. We are starting our 2040 Vision to 2071 process. It's a comprehensive conservation plan. Really important, and we're engaging. We have a consultant that's helping us, and we will begin our stakeholder meetings and then our community open houses. So you can go to the Conservation District site, and definitely as we look to do our part here, we're looking for stakeholders to, so if your organization wants to provide comment on what conservation is going to look like over the next 50 years or in the immediate future, we'd love to hear from you. Anything else for the good of the group? Hearing none, we are done earlier today than we normally are. We didn't need the full amount of time, but that's okay. You're going to get a half an hour back into your day, which I'm sure you all will appreciate. Thank you so much, and I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Do I have a second?
Jack, I'll second that.
Thank you, Jack. All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, motion by saying aye.
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 Okay, anyone that wants to stay and talk? All right, thank you. We are adjourned. Have a good rest of the day, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks,
Cheers.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.